Welcome back to another segment of Behind the Scenes of the Waltons. Today I'm going to be talking about the life and career of actress Nora Marlowe, who played Mrs. Brimmer for about 25 episodes, amounted to about 28 hours of Waltons. So please sit back, relax, and enjoy. And if you do enjoy these, please do hit like and subscribe. I had this question from Farm Girl 40. Who asked, please tell us more about the actress who played Mrs. Brimmer. She was on one of my favorite Twilight Zone episodes, and I thought she was great on the Waltons. Okay, so the Twilight Zones that she is talking about, Nora Marlowe did 2 episodes of that. She did the season 2 episode 13, Back There as a chambermaid, and the season 5 episode 19, Night Call, as Margaret Phillips. So I haven't had a chance to see either of those episodes, so I'm not sure which one was her favorite, but maybe those of you who are very familiar with the Twilight Zone episodes will know which one she must be talking about. As a little something extra in this segment on Nora, I have invited a couple of people who knew her, and they are going to share some of what they remember about Nora, both from her time on the Waltons and also her life and career. So stick around, because that'll be Michael McGreevy and John Dayton. So you're going to want to hear their lovely thoughts about Nora. A little history on Nora. She was born September 5th, 1915 in Worcester, Massachusetts, and she died December 31st, 1977 in Los Angeles, California. And like Will Geer, she passed away between season 6 and season 7 of The Waltons. Nora was married to actor James McCallion, who was born in Glasgow, Scotland, and he served in the U.S. Army during World War II. He first acted on Broadway at the age of 9 and later did a lot of supporting actor roles, and he was under contract to RKO, Warner Brothers, and Universal. And her son, Dennis McCallion, worked as a producer and location manager on shows including The Torkelsons, which Ronnie Claire Edwards was on, as well as the Twilight Zone 1985 version. 8 is Enough. He also worked once with each of his parents, his father on Blue Night and his mother, Nora, on Queen of the Stardust Ballroom. And her daughter, Tracy, appears to have been a columnist on one of the Waltons blogs as Flossie's kid. And I'm hoping to make contact with either or both of them sometime in the near future. And if I do, then I will look forward to being able to share some of their remembrances about their mother. On her bio on the Internet Movie Database, IMDb, it says that she was known for The Thomas Crown Affair in 1968, Westworld 1973, and The Brass Bottle 1964. She was also in North by Northwest with Cary Grant in 1959. However, she was uncredited. Now, another piece of trivia is that there's another couple of Walton connections with the film North by Northwest. I was watching it again just recently with my husband because I wanted to see Nora's performance in that. And in it, she plays the maid, the Townsend's maid. And also in that movie was Josephine Hutchinson, who plays Mrs. Townsend. And you'll remember Josephine as Miss Mamie in Homecoming. And then also as a U.S. intelligence agency official, there was a scene and I suddenly went, wait a minute, I know him. And it was our very own Larry Dobkin, who directed a number of episodes of The Waltons and also played Professor Goat at Boatwright University when John Boy was a student there. Nora first appeared as Mrs. Brimmer, who ran the boarding house, in season 2 in the episode The Triangle, when she tells Miss Hunter that Reverend Fordwick is there to see her. Also in season 2, she did the episodes The Heritage, The Cradle, and The Graduation. In season 3, The Beguiled, The Caretakers, and The Statue. Season 4, The Sermon, The Boondoggle, The Abdication, The Secret, The Burnout, and The Quilting. Then in season 5, it was a big season for Mrs. Brimmer. The First Edition, The Firestorm, The Wedding, The Cloudburst, The Best Christmas, The Rebellion, The Career Girl, the hero, the inferno, the go-getter, and in season 6, the hawk, and her last episode with us on the Waltons was the grandchild. Over the seasons, we got to see a number of sides of Flossie Brimmer, some humor at times, her interactions with Dr. Willard, when she was a patient of his, some gossiping at the Godsey's store, and also just a lot of lovely sentimental moments that occurred. So always fun to see different aspects of Mrs. Brimmer. Please share with me what some of your favorite moments were from Mrs. Brimmer. I know for me, some real standouts were particularly in the firestorm when John Boy has pulled those books out of the fire, as Reverend Fordwick and others have been tossing books there to burn. And John Boy pulls his book out and he says, gosh, I wish someone here could speak German. And Mrs. Brimmer, who he knows speaks German, but has been afraid to reveal her German heritage, steps forward, reads in German, and then translates in English. And it turns out that this book is the Bible. So I think one of our all-time most powerful scenes on the Waltons. And she was just brilliant in that scene. I recently had an opportunity to talk with Michael McGreevey. And during the course of our conversation, we talked a bit about Nora because not only did he know her from the Waltons, but his family and Nora's family were friends. And Michael and her son Dennis were in school together and are still friends. So Michael was able to share some personal memories about Nora. I want to touch a little bit on Nora Marlowe, just because that was one of the reasons why, when I reached out to you, people ask a lot about her. And as I was we were doing a little bit of a dive into her life, I came across something where you were talking about, her family and knowing her. And
yeah, Nora Marlowe, or Nora McCallion, she was married to James McCallion, who was a great character actor, and she was dear friends with my mom, and also they were neighbors. Jim and Nora were neighbors of Rod Peterson and Claire Whitaker. And my dad, of course, because of my mom, knew Nora well and recommended to Earl to find a role for Nora. Actually, Earl knew Nora Marlowe back in New York in the radio days, so he was familiar with her and with Jim. And then when they started writing the Mrs. Brimmer character, he knew he wanted to ask her to do it from the very beginning. And socially, it worked because if you go back and look at the people who wrote the scripts that had Mrs. Brimmer in it, it's usually Rod and Claire. Because they knew Nora needed the work. Which is interesting. Her background, I think from the Midwest. Jim was a child Broadway star, and made $1 million before he was off to war in World War II. And then came back, and his family had blown all the money. But he met Nora while doing radio in New York. And there was that whole group of actors. Jack Lemmon was there in the beginning. And they all stayed friends. We would go to parties at the McCallions, and Lemmon was always there, and Frank Lovejoy, a whole bunch of character actors. And Nora did if you've done her IMDb, she was in everything. I found out just recently, somebody sent me a Wagon Train episode that I was in that I had never seen. And I'm watching it, and they cut from the scene with me to a scene with Nora Marlowe, and I didn't even know she was in it.
Wow.
If you're not there on the same day, it's that type of thing. Just an instinctively good actress and really a fun person. My son, my oldest son, who's a cinephile, he's really into movies and stuff. He's in the music world, but I can remember, he as a little boy, he had been around Jim McCallion and Nora Marlowe, and Dennis was his uncle Dennis. It didn't mean anything to him. And then he's in college and he's taking all these cinema courses, and he calls me up and says, "Did you know that Nora and Jim are in North by Northwest?" And I said, yeah, I did. And he said, "Oh my God, they're both in a classic film." Nora played the maid in North by Northwest. And all I remember, they always told the story, Jim always told the story on Nora. And this is, if you want to know Nora's personality, she came home, they were having a party, but she had worked late and it was on North by Northwest. And she came home and she was still in makeup and sort of tired and everything. And everybody greeted her, and some woman said to her, "Tough day?" Because you could see it. And she said, "Yeah, Cary Grant all day long." So, see, she worked with some of the biggest people ever, and big directors ever. I don't know, Nora. I love Nora. She died way too young,
between seasons when Will died.
Yeah, was that it? Yeah.
Mrs. Brimmer, I think she did about 18 episodes. The character was in about 18 episodes or something, 17, 18 episodes. But she wasn't just a one-dimensional character. Like, even with supporting characters that the writers wrote, it wasn't a one-note character, and that sometimes she was just kind of part of the humor of the episode with being a bit of a gossip and getting into things. But then she had some really, touching stuff, like in The Secret, when she's the one who kind of, Jim Bob's asking questions about, his birth. Why wasn't what, and she's kind of like, lets them know he's asking questions. And so there were just scenes. Yeah.
She had the ultimate moment in the series, I think, when John Boy says, read this German.
Yes. The firestorm. Yes.
That's a wonderful moment.
Oh, amazing. Yeah.
It just,
I dare anyone to not cry when that happens.
I know. In the beginning was the word. It's like, whoa, man.
Our production assistant, John Dayton, who you've seen me speak with a number of times, also had memories of Nora from the seasons that she worked and his various different interactions with her over those episodes. So this is what John had to share about Nora.
I've been thinking about her a lot. Flossie Brimmer, I think it was.
Right.
And a couple things I remember about her. A lot I remember about her. Nora was amazing. She reminded me of Tracy, of Spencer Tracy. Where Tracy, you never caught him acting. And Nora was the same way. Mm-hmm. And I remember we were shooting out in front of her home, Flossie's home. And she had brought cookies that day. It was the morning. And I had tucked a couple cookies in my pocket. And so I took one out and I was chewing on it. And Nora said, "Do you have another one in there?" I gave her. But just like that, when Harry said action, It was like, oh, I mean, she turned into Flossie just like that. But Nora, she was a fine actress. And for example, for me, my two favorite films she made were, one was ours, which was the burning of the books.
Mm-hmm. The firestorm, right?
Incredible.
Yeah.
And I remember, and she and Richard together, oh my gosh. The book burning, and of course, North by Northwest.
I mean, I remember her being really good-natured.
Oh, yes.
And, very personable, that, she wasn't standoffish. She was easy to have a conversation with.
Her attitude was amazing. She was a sweet lady. And to tell you the truth, Judy, everybody on the show was that way. Our set had a quality about it where when you approached, either when it was outside or you opened the stage door, you could feel the sense of being at home. I mean, it was really nice. She worked on every show. I mean, every show that was in production, Nora worked. I remember Heart to Heart was on there. There just all of the show, Barnaby Jones or Murder, She Wrote. I mean, they were all there. That's a sign that an actor is disciplined. You can count on them being there on time and knowing their lines. And because with television, we did it fast. 8 or 8.5 pages a day.
I want to thank John Dayton and Michael McGreevey for taking some time to share with me and with all of you some of their memories about Nora Marlowe. I always enjoyed working with Nora. I found her very personable, very easy to get along with, very, very professional, and just another of our recurring characters that I was always happy when she came back and was part of an episode. So grateful to have had the opportunity to know her just a little bit. Because I was young, I didn't spend a lot of time sitting and chatting and asking her all the questions that I now wish I had known to even ask about her tremendous career and her wonderful years in Hollywood, and just getting to maybe have a chance to know her as a real person. I think I would have liked that. But I hope that this has helped you get to know her a little bit better. Thank you for joining me for this segment about Nora Marlowe, who played Mrs. Flossie Brimmer, who ran the boarding house on the Waltons. I will be back with more behind the scenes of the Waltons, more Ask Judy, and more special guests. Thanks for watching.